I like to experiment with ringing the chimes in a different order every week. I don't know if anyone's noticed. Good morning. My name is Karen Seymour Ells, and I serve on the board of DuPage Unitarian Universalist Church. I want to welcome everyone to our service this morning and welcome visitors to our open and inclusive community. As Unitarian Universalists, we hold that there are many spiritual paths to truth and meaning, and we support one another as we explore these paths. I would also like to especially welcome our guests and welcome again those who have visited us before. Visitors, it is the custom of our congregation to invite you to stand and give your name and where you are from if you wish to do so. Are there any visitors this morning who would like to introduce themselves?
I'm Tommy Robertson. I'm Stephanie's husband, and she and her mom, Clara, are here today for her service.
Welcome. So glad you're here. Hi, Nancy.
I'm Nancy Weil. I belong to the Hinsdale Unitarian Church, and I take Stephanie's class every summer at Joseph, and I'm here to see Stephanie.
Welcome. We have some Stephanie fans in the house today, I see. We want to welcome everyone visiting today. Please join us after the service for coffee hour. We would love to have a chance to get to know you better. Our Director of Religious Education, Steve Cooper, and our Congregational Life Coordinator, Mary Law, and all of our members are eager to meet you. I will also be present after the service down in Creeves Hall and would be happy to talk to you as well. For those of you who are live streaming via YouTube, please be aware that during times of sharing joys and concerns, the live stream will go blank, and the live stream will return at the conclusion of joys and concerns. Our service can be heard outside the glass doors. If anyone needs to leave, there are seats available back there for your convenience. As the service begins, I would like to remind everyone to please silence all electronic devices. I have an additional announcement. Next week, we are fortunate to have the Reverend Karen Mooney joining us. Reverend Mooney's, yeah, I know, right? Yay! Reverend Mooney's service is titled, Letting Go to Let In. And she has invited everyone attending to bring a photo or memorabilia of someone important to you as together we build a tribute to those who have gone before and remember them in this fertile time of new beginnings. So we also want to give a reminder that March is our annual Canvas Month. This year we are asking you to join the conversation, helping the board and future ministerial search committee understand how we can do church well for everyone. What do you want and need from the pulpit and this community? What fulfills and inspires you and your family? We have had some wonderful discussions. I know yesterday I really enjoyed the discussion I had with people here at church. There is one more opportunity to share your thoughts, and it's this Tuesday at 6:30 here at the church. Thanks also to those who have already pledged their commitment to this beloved congregation for the next fiscal year. Pledges are due by April 1st. Thank you very much.
We light our chalice this morning for acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations.
Please stand if you are able and join us for our opening hymn number 73, Chant for All Seasons. And we're just going to do the third verse, and it will also be on the wall here. My name is Holly Harris Johnson, and I have the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker today, Stephanie Lewis Robertson. Stephanie is the program chair for fine arts at Ivy Tech Community College, Central Indiana region. She holds an MFA and a BFA in fabric design. Her own work is included in several corporate and private collections, and she is also a teaching artist with Arts for Learning of Indiana. She has facilitated a number of workshops for students and faculty and participated in a variety of creative initiatives in her community. In 2017, she was accepted into Religion, Spirituality, and the Arts 5 and has received numerous grants and awards for her work. Stephanie has exhibited her work throughout Indianapolis. When she describes her own creative process, Stephanie says, "Much like a musical conversation, I sing to hand-dyed and printed fabrics while I work. Spirituality, ritual, nature, music, the power of women, the concept of the last worst time, and the current state of the world serve as the inspiration for the fabric and paper constructions. The fabric begins as a blank cloth, waiting for our conversation to begin. We sing, we pray, we say yes, no, this. The fabric and the prayers tell me their story and I serve as the storyteller. Please join me in welcoming Stephanie Lewis Robertson to our pulpit.
Thank you. Wow, you all sounded great when we went through our practice one and came back for the real song. It was great. I'm so proud of you. So I want to talk to the people who are probably a little bit shorter than me. Some of them might be a little bit taller than me, but they're young at heart or young in age. So if you can come on up here and sit on the ground, I'm going to try to get low to the ground. Because I'm old, it's going to be hard for me to get up. I might need your help getting up, okay? Good morning. Oh, thank you. So I want to ask you some questions. So first off, how many of you are creative people? Yeah. Out there, how many of you are creative people? Okay, that's good. That's what I wanted to hear and see. Okay, so how many of you have ever, talked to a tree or had a tree talk back to you? Awesome. Yes. How many of you have talked to rocks or had rocks talk to you? Or animals? Have anybody talked to their animals and had animals talk back to them? Yeah. And had conversations? Yeah. That's so exciting. So you all are going to go along with the stories that I'm going to tell today, including you all up there. I have a friend. Her name is Suzelle, and Suzelle is a minister up in Milwaukee. And a lot of my friends that I know here go to Musa, the camp, which is freaking awesome, right? How many of you go to Musa? Yeah. So Suzelle has been a guest minister there, and Suzelle had a story to tell us, and she found something out that I'm going to share with you. Suzelle was in graduate school going to get her degree in ministry, and she was really worried and really upset. And she just didn't know if she was making the right choices and doing the right thing. And so she went to the redwood forests. And you know, those are those big, big trees. And she went and she hugged a tree. And she was just asking for help. And she didn't know what the answer was. And she just kept saying, please, I just need to hear an answer. And the tree said to her, it is in my blood. Can you all say, it is in my blood? It is in my blood. Good. Yes. And then the tree said to her, it is in my body. So say, it is in my body. So we're going to say, it is in my blood, it is in my body. It is in my blood, it is in my body. Got it? And then the tree said to her, no one can take it away from me, creativity. Can you say that? No one can take it away from me, creativity. So let's say the whole thing. It is in my blood, it is in my body. Say it again. It is in my blood, it is in my body. No one can take it away from me, creativity. But here's the kicker of it. The tree didn't actually say it to her. It taught her a song. You want to learn it? Yeah, you do. Well, even if you don't, you're gonna. So I'm just saying that to you in the back row, okay? So we're gonna learn it, and we're gonna sing it. We're gonna do it, the call and the response to learn it. And several people who know this can help with this. Several people who know this can come help with this. Do you not know this? Okay. Nancy, you can come stand up here. Anita? All right. It is in my blood. That's what, we're just going to sing that part. So, it is in my blood. You got it. It is in my body. It is in my body. Now we're going to sing those together. It is in my blood, it is in my body. Okay, we're going to do that twice. It is in my blood, it is in my body, it is in my blood, it is in my body. Okay, here's the hard part. No one can take it away from me. Creativity. Okay, you ready? We can do it. No one can take it away from me. Creativity. Let's sing it again. It is in my blood, it is in my body, it is in my blood, it is in my body. No one can take it away from me. Creativity. Okay, I want to flip it just a little bit. It is in my blood, it is in my body, it is in. There's a little bit of a, yeah, it's a little bit of a flip, a rhythm change. It is in my blood, it is in my body, it is in my blood, it is in my body. So did you see her do that? In my, the second time? In my. Let's try it that way, okay? It is in my blood, it is in my body, it is in my blood, it is in my body. No one can take it away from me. Creativity. Okay, close your eyes. Close your eyes and let's sing it. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. It is in my blood, it is in my body, it is in my blood, it is in my body. No one can take it away from me. Creativity. Let's sing it again. It is in my blood, it is in my body, it is in my blood, it is in my body. No one can take it away from me. Creativity. Let's stand up and do it. It is in my blood, it is in my body, it is in my blood, it is in my body. No one can take it away from me. Creativity. Speed it up, and the kids, you can go out. It is in my blood, it is in my body, it is in my blood, it is in my body. No one can take it away from me. Creativity. One more time. It is in my blood, it is in my body, it is in my blood, it is in my body. No one can take it away from me. Creativity. Yes! One more time. It is in my blood, it is in my body, it is in my blood, it is in my body. No one can take it away from me. Creativity. Thank you. Okay, so the first reading is a springtime prayer by George Tiger. How many of you were outside yesterday? Wasn't it good? Wasn't it nice to see sun? Oh yeah. And this is the vernal equinox. So spring started on March 21st, so we got to do a little bit about spring, right? O power of springtime, spirit of green grasses and warm breezes, goddess of creativity, of birth, of life renewed, you sing all about us at this time. The birds call your sacred name. Buds burst forth with your vestment. The sun reaches higher into the sky, shining the light of this new day through the windows of your cathedral, this world. O power of springtime, forgive us our speediness and our racing before your eternal grace, that we do not see the myriad miracle world we share. Open our eyes with your warmth and our hearts with your beauty. Show our minds with awe and wonder. Dear Spirit of green grasses and warm breezes, let us find here in these moments of quiet the grace of your breath as we breathe into our bodies the spirit of spring. Amen.
Today, we take time during our service to attend to those joys and concerns that some of you carry in your hearts. During this time of reverence and fellowship, we affirm that as a community, we share in your sorrow or rejoice in your happiness. If you have a joy or a sorrow to share, please come forward to the microphone to share this with your faith community. We share in those joys and sorrows expressed and those not expressed, but very much with us. Please stand as you are able and join us in the hymn number 1002, Comfort Me. It's in the teal hymnal.
Now I'm just going to warn you all that we're going to zipper this song. So we're going to sing a couple of the verses that are up there, but we're going to also add in some of our own words. And if you've not sung this, you'll figure it out. And if you have sung it, you'll figure this out. So when I ask, we're going to go in and zipper in some stuff, okay? All right. I love that song. And I love it, especially after Joys and Concerns. We could go on forever. I'm going to read you some life tips from a pottery wheel by Tim Atkins. Over the past couple of years, what started off as a hobby has turned into a true spiritual practice, wheel-thrown pottery. I would love to tell you that I picked it up immediately, that I've become an expert potter with showcases and gallery openings, and, well, I can't stop laughing at that picture. In fact, I've had some pretty epic failures with my pottery. Almost everything comes off a little off-centered, and often my attempts on the wheel end up with a disaster of some sort. Just last month, when I was trimming a bowl, it flew off my wheel, smashed into another wheel, and the formerly not too bad bowl turned into something that more resembled a pancake. I laughed it off. When I was learning to make bowls, clay ended up coating my arms, cheeks, hair, everything, really. None of the bowls came out like bowls, and I left with a huge smile on my face, despite failure after failure. Because what have I learned? Far and away, the most important lesson pottery has taught me is to not be attached to the final product. There are a lot of places in the process of making wheel-thrown pottery where something different than what you expected happens. You never know how the final product will look after glazing until it comes out of the kiln. Every time I've put a piece in the kiln with a certain expectation of how it'll come out, I've been disappointed. But when I didn't care in the end how it was going to look, I ended up pleasantly surprised. I can't be attached to those final outcomes. The process matters more than the product. The process matters more than the product. This is a universal truth in art and creativity, and it transcends every artistic medium, from architecture to YouTube videos. No matter what form the art takes in the end, no matter what artistic medium you use, the process of making that art changes you as a person. How we've changed differs from person to person, but we are fundamentally changed by embracing our creativity, no matter our creative outlet. May we all take the time to fully immerse in our creative potential, no matter the medium. May we all be reminded that the process matters, not just the final outcome. The process matters, not just the outcome. Holly shared a small bio about me. I'm not going to cover everything about my life because, well, we'd be here for a long time, and really not all of it is relevant. But right now, I'm going to tell you that I consider myself to be a teaching artist, a creative journeyer, and a spiritual seeker. And all of those things are tied together in who I am and what I feel I have been put on this earth to do. My life has been full of privilege, and I'm going to say that right up front. I grew up with two parents who were an art artist. My dad ran his own graphic design firm in Cincinnati, Ohio, and my mom, although she will deny this, is a great watercolor artist, and she and I are taking watercolor together, which is kind of fun. We did not have a lot of money when I was growing up, and it was either feast or famine. When you're in graphic design, money comes in a lot, and then it goes away, and then it comes in, and it goes away. So we grew up with a huge, my mom planted a huge garden, and we had that, but we always had stuff to make things with, and we were taught how to do things. And that was wonderful. My brothers and I we were creative individuals from the get-go. And I was able, through them, to go to college and earn my degree. My 2 degrees, my first degree was in fabric dyeing and printing at Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. My graduate degree is also in fabric dyeing and printing because, why not, from Georgia. And I just want to say to you, not too many people hire fabric dyers and printers. But I always have been able to make jobs happen and make money and earn a living, which is what I still tell all my college students today. But when I graduated from undergraduate school, I was an art snob. If you did not have a degree in art, then you could not have the privilege of calling yourself an artist. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. And I lived like that for a long time. My husband and I got married, and he was in the Navy. Yes, I was an officer's wife. Don't look like it. I was a detriment to his career, but we'll talk about that some other time. And we moved to Charleston, South Carolina. One thing I will say is that I've always loved craftspeople and the people that work with their hands and work with craft materials. And so I became very involved with the South Carolina Craft Association. I was on the board of that. And then I eventually became the co-founder of a gallery called Charleston Crafts, which focused on showing traditional and fine craft. No craft work was being shown in galleries at that time in Charleston, South Carolina, and we created this in response to a need that we perceived. I was 27 at that time. I mean, like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I did it. I'm scared now that I was able to do that. And I knew that I loved fabric. I knew I loved craftspeople. I felt a deep connection to them and their work. And I began to really connect with self-taught traditional craftspeople as well as people with degrees in art. And that's when my heart began to change. It was several years out of college. And then when I moved to Indianapolis, that's when it really started to change. I began working at a community art center, the Indianapolis Art Center, and met several other like-minded people who were exploring the connections between spirituality, craft, and all forms of art. And I'm not talking about visual art. I'm talking about dance and theater and music, singing, performance. I met my best friend. Some of you might have heard of her, Pam Blevins-Hinkle. I think she's been up here to DuPage to do a service. And she also is the director of the Awesome Choir at Musa, which is awesome. And she also led the Indianapolis Women's Chorus, and she started a new community group called Song Squad in Indianapolis. And she and I started a group to explore the artist way together. Now that book, okay, first off, how many of you have done that book? Okay, lots of you. Did it take you 12 weeks to get through it? Because it took us 18 months. I mean, we avoided sections of it because we were afraid. We were afraid of what we were learning. But by the time we got through it, that book changed my life. I began really to understand who I am as an artist and a creative and spiritual being. And I found myself collaborating with people in all different art forms, and it was really a lot of fun. But I also realized that my life was out of balance. Did any of you ever see Koyaanisqatsi by Philip Glass? Yeah, you and I, we got it, right? Koyaanisqatsi means life out of balance. It's an old film. It's really wonderful, but it's talking how we're not connected. And I knew that my life was out of balance. And I was spending so much time helping others become better artists, and a little time teaching, a little time working on my art, and a little time singing, but mostly I was working at the Art Center. The Arts Council of Indianapolis and the Lilly Foundation had set up a grant called the Creative Renewal Fellowship. And the Creative Renewal Fellowship at that time gave 50 grants to artists and arts administrators, again, all kinds of artists, to go and pursue something that they needed to do to creatively renew themselves. And when I got mine in 2001, my decision, my choice, among other things besides massages, was to go away for 2 weeks and be an artist in studio, because I never had 2 weeks of time. So I was going to Southern Indiana to the Mary Anderson Center for the Arts. And it's at a Franciscan friary, and they have a policy of no phones there, and they have studios. And I'd been there a few times, and every time I went there, I would visit the creek beds and spend time in the studio, and it was lovely. And I left to go there on September 10th, 2001. Yeah. And I got there, and I unpacked my stuff, and then I walked the labyrinth. And I couldn't stop walking the labyrinth, and I walked the labyrinth for 3 hours. And I kept trying to leave, and I kept thinking, no, I need to stay, I need to stay. And then I went to the room where I was staying, and I went to sleep, and I couldn't wake up. And the next morning, the phone in the office started ringing, and it wouldn't stop ringing. And I kept waking up, and a voice kept saying, don't get up yet. Go back to sleep. And I try to wake up again. It's not time yet. I woke up at 8:45, right after the last plane crashed into the Pentagon. And then I was told it's time to get up. And so I found out what had happened. And I stopped my retreat short because I had friends who worked in the Pentagon. I had friends who lived in New York City. I knew I didn't want to be alone, paying attention to only me when I needed to be with my family and my friends, and to make sure that my friend Steph, my friend Kendra were okay. And so I came back. And I will say that every artist in that group had similar experiences. I also feel that Spirit was with me, divine, God, great artist, creator, however you choose to call it, was with me. And many of my artist friends had similar experiences that night, that they were in deep prayer, that they slept and they couldn't get up, and they kept being told, you need to sleep more. So I went and did my job, and then the next summer I was able to go back to the Mary Anderson Center. And I went for 3 weeks this time because it just happened to not be a busy time, and I was able to go. The Mary Anderson Center is up on a hill, and there's a lake down at the bottom, and then there's a creek bed. And 3 of my friends, Pam Blevins-Hinkle and 2 other friends, were coming down the last 3 days of the time that I was there. And I had had a good time in the studio, but I was looking for a sign. I needed something. I knew something was not right, and I didn't know what it was. And I thought, well, I'm going to go down and walk in the creek beds and look for rocks with holes in them, because every time I go to the creek bed, I find a lot of rocks with holes in them. I was so excited about walking down there. And I'm walking, and I'm not finding a single rock with a hole in it. So then, in desperation, I thought, well, maybe I need to just meditate. And I've never meditated before. I don't know what I'm doing, but I've seen people do it. So I sat down on the creek bed in the sand, in my baggy art shorts, which are very baggy and very nasty and big. And I sat down, and I put my feet down, and I put my fingers together, and I said, Om. Oh, there's a fly. Om. Oh, there's a dang plane going overhead. Om. Oh, there's sand in my pants. It's very uncomfortable. Om. And I opened my eyes, and I thought, as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, this isn't working, this isn't working, this isn't working. And when I opened my eyes, there was yellow light everywhere. And I couldn't see the path that I had taken to get to the creek. And I looked, and I couldn't see how to get back up the hill this way. I couldn't see how to get up the hill this way. And I thought, oh, what the hell am I going to do? And I thought, well, I'm going to go ahead and walk up the creek bed. And I start walking up the creek bed, and I go around a corner, and there's a big rock the size of a bowling ball, the shape of a bowling ball in the water. And I looked at it and I thought, oh. And I picked it up and I turned it over, and it had a hole almost all the way through it. And I used a curse word when I said holy something. Holy criminy. I need this rock. And the rock said, you don't need me. You have the answer. And then I said, I really need this rock. And the rock said, you have the answer. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I need this rock. I need to take you back with me. And the rock says, no, you don't. You have the answer. Okay, so like that sounds Lulu and whack. And the whole time that this is going on, I'm thinking this is Lulu and whack, but I'm having a conversation with a rock. And so I pick it up and I take it back to where I had been sitting. And I sat it down and I'm looking at it. And the rock says, okay, I have to think where I am. So you don't need me. It said, sorry, because I got lost and I forgot what it said. And I know what it said. As I'm staring at it, it said, you must go deep. You must go deep into your heart. You must go deep into your soul. You have the answer. You must go deep. And I sat there and looked at it. And I picked up the rock and I put it back face down so that someone else could find it. And I said, thank you. And I looked up and I could see the path. And it was there again. I had an artist friend in Indy who was in the same group of the Creative Renewal Fellowships. And she told me during our journey together that I needed to really start pursuing getting my work into museum collections and into galleries because that's what a real artist does. And when she told me that, I got depressed and worked up and I just thought, I don't want to do that. And I had to keep thinking about what she said and thinking about what the rock said. And I eventually came to the conclusion that that's not who I am and that's not what I do. I eventually decided to quit the Art Center and pursue being a freelance artist so I could spend more time teaching and working on my own work, singing. And I love to teach, and I love to work with lesser-served communities, and to build communities through art, and to make work that reflects my view of the world. And I think that's what I'm called to do. I don't really give a hoot if my work is collected in a museum. If somebody came up to me and said, we're going to put you in the museum, I would probably say, okay, good. Or if the MacArthur Genius Fellowship said, you've won a MacArthur Genius Fellowship, I would probably say, okay. But I don't think I'm really going to get there. What really floats my boat is teaching and working with people and helping them to become their better, truer self. So right now, I skipped a paragraph. So there's a deep connection with working with the elements of stone, fire, water, and metal to create work. The majority of craftspeople I have met are open to the stories I tell and open to this idea of the rocks or the fabric or the metal telling them what to do and what to say and what they need us to express. That is in that field of craft work, fine craft work, that's where I've met the most people who are open to sharing that. And that's why I keep coming back to the fine craft area. When I am working on my own work, when I am stitching on my sewing machine, I am praying for the world. I am keeping fire for the world. As I think of someone and I start talking to them as I'm stitching, as I'm dyeing the fabric, as I'm helping students, this is all prayer for me. I'm working right now at Ivy Tech Community College, and I don't know what your community colleges systems are like up here, but at Ivy Tech, about 65% in Indianapolis, about 65% of my students are people of color. About 35% are not. I would say the majority of my students work full-time, and they also go to school full-time, and they raise families. Many of them are on the verge of homelessness. Many of them are living in their cars. A lot of them have ADHD. I have several students who have autism and are on this or have been diagnosed on the spectrum. And we have tried to create a caring, loving environment at Ivy Tech in my fine arts program, and it's known for that. And we hear from other students that they come and take classes with us because we accept them for who they are. And the other work that I am doing right now is I'm working with Arts for Learning. So how many of you have heard of an organization called Young Audiences? None of you? Okay. So, good. One of you has. So Young Audiences is a nationwide program that sends teaching artists out into local schools, and they teach about arts. They integrate arts into the curriculum. The affiliate in Indianapolis is called Arts for Learning, and I've been a teaching artist with them, well, since right after 9/11. And the current work that I'm doing with them is working with incarcerated youth and women in transitional housing. So just so you know, if you ever want to support a great organization, Young Audiences, there might be something like that here in Chicago. So what we'll do is, let's say that somebody's teaching about Japan. So there's an artist on our staff who can teach about Japanese calligraphy. There's an artist who can teach Japanese music. There's an artist who can teach the tea ceremony. And then I can go in and teach about dyeing techniques with Japanese materials and the Japanese dyeing techniques. Some of the artists are actually Japanese. All of the artists who do the Japanese programs are Japanese. I'm not. We have people who teach rhythm through dance and mathematics and fractions through dance. And they've started expanding, like I said, into working with incarcerated youth and transitional housing. So last summer, well, actually for 2 summers, I've been teaching in a transitional housing unit. And then last summer, I started working with the Marion County the jail, working with 13 to 18-year-old young men who are incarcerated for really heavy-duty crimes, and I don't know what they are, and I'm not supposed to ask, and I don't want to know what they are. But these guys, many of them have ADHD. Some of them might be on the spectrum. They don't stop moving. They move all the time. They can't stop at all. And this last week, we started on a 24-session program. It was, we're doing 24 sessions where I will be the lead artist, and I'm going to be there at every session. The guys, some of them know me, and they trust me, and we decided that they needed someone consistent rather than bringing in a different person for each session. So I will be there all 24 sessions, and then we are bringing in a spoken word artist, a hip-hop artist, somebody who's a theater performer, who's going to teach them about acting, and then somebody who's going to teach them drumming. And we just finished 3 lessons with a yoga instructor. And when the yoga instructor came in, she's like 65 and tiny and can bend over and lift herself up on one arm. And her husband is there who's not quite as limber as her. He's only been doing it about 3 years. And then another young man who looks kind of like a hipster. And he's very built. And they all were saying disparaging things about him until he took a couple poses. And then they were fascinated by him. And at the end of the session, the first time, they put the pillows over your eyes, the ones with the lavender and flax. And these guys who don't stop moving, she said, okay, now we're going to lay down and we're going to rest. And she came around Carol and put these on them, and the kids were quiet. It was the first time I ever heard them quiet in all the times I've worked with them. And by the second session, they were coming up and saying, I thought yoga was for sissies. I didn't like it. I thought it was going to be stupid. I just came because I didn't want to go do other things. I love yoga. And they're asking for the yoga mats, and they're asking for the eye pillows, and every time they come in to the session, they say, are we going to get those cinnamon pillows? I know. No, we're not telling them that it's lavender. It doesn't matter. That's what they live for. So I'm going back next week on Thursday. I'm going to do kinetic drawing with them, which is giant pieces of paper, and they're going to have drawing utensils in both hands, and we're going to use our whole bodies to do the drawings. I'm going to bring in a CD to play for them, and we're buying 8 eye pillows so that I can end every session with 10 minutes of rest and silence for them. We're not supposed to touch them at all, and they crave touch, and this is a way that we can say, let it go. Here's what I know. We're born to be creative beings. It's in my body, it's in my soul. It's in everybody's body and soul. We're there to help change the world. And this is what I do as an artist. And this is my journey. There's a lot of other things I've done. But right now, this is the work that I need to do out in the world. And this is the path I've chosen. Thank you very much. Namaste. Blessed be. Om mitakwiyase, all my relations. Thank you.
We will now take an offering that will support our church and its ministries. And when we're done, we will stand together and sing the offertory hymn, number 1068, Rising Green, and I will cue you when it's time to do that. And we're just going to sing one verse of that. The gifts of the congregation will be most gratefully received. Please stand as you are able and join us in the hymn 1068, just the first verse.
So many choices of things to read for you today. And I'm going to do the same one that I read earlier because it's just so wonderful. And a lot of you know this. Our Deepest Fear by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Please join us for the closing hymn, Blue Boat Home, number 1064 in the teal hymnal. I just jumped right in and did that for you.
Standing on
Thank you all for having me here. Thank you to everyone who helped with the services today. And please keep the prayers and thoughts of the people in this service as well as the ones in the earlier service. Take that out into the world. And then also go talk to a rock or a tree or put your hands in the mud. Thank you. Now, say hello to everyone around you. Thank you.